Oh, it feels good to finally be filming another video. I've been away for a few weeks. I managed to go and test positive for the you-know-what, and it has really floored me. So that means I haven't been doing any instrument practice and I haven't made any videos. The thing is, because I haven't been practicing my instruments, I haven't got any practice sessions to show you and no new tunes to play for you. So I've kind of been thinking, what on earth am I going to make a video about? And I realised it is almost exactly 2 years to the week since I bought my very first recorder and started trying to teach myself how to play music. Now, in those 2 years, I think it's fair to say that things have expanded a little bit from just the recorder for me. Recorder's still my main thing, but over the past 2 years, I seem to have gathered quite a few other instruments, and I have actually been asked quite a lot in the comments on my videos, how many instruments do I actually own? And the answer is, I don't know. But for a bit of a fun video today, I'm going to gather all of my instruments together in a great big pile and find out how many I actually have. So let's get started. And I think it makes sense to get started with the foot of my mountain of instruments. It's going to have to be the piano, because it's too big and heavy for me to move. I reckon if I had 100 lifetimes to live, I wouldn't be able to conquer the whole two hands doing different things at once thing. And anyway, why would I bother learning to play it when it plays itself so beautifully? Instrument number 2 is where it all started. 2 years ago I bought my little Aulos Robin plastic soprano recorder, and it is thoroughly 100% to blame for starting my whole musical obsession. Also, as an extra bonus, it comes with a truly superb mustard corduroy case, which is just the best thing ever. I don't actually own as many recorders as I always think I do. I think I've got a fairly sensible collection. Only about a month or so after buying my first recorder, I got this, my beloved Mollenhauer Denner in pearwood. It is one of those objects that I would run into my house if it was on fire and try to save it. My house isn't on fire though, so it's all good. I have another plastic soprano. I decided to try this Aulos with the wood grain effect. Everyone kept telling me how good these ones were, so I just had to try one, and you weren't wrong. These are brilliant. I play it a lot. Completing my lineup of soprano recorders is this Yamaha, which I didn't buy for the recorder itself. It actually comes, handily I haven't put it on, but usually there is a piezo pickup microphone that is sort of attached, drilled into this recorder, and I wanted to try the microphone and it came with the recorder. You can plug the microphone either directly into your amplifier or into your pedals. I don't currently own any pedals, but when I do get pedals, I'm going to be playing with the microphone a lot more to get different effects and things. It's just kind of here waiting to be used properly. Don't like the recorder though. 2 altos. I don't own a wooden alto. I play tenor and soprano far more than I do play alto recorder, so I don't feel that burning desire to own a wooden alto. Maybe one day though. At the moment I have one that is a bit sort of airy and reedy, and one that isn't a bit airy and reedy. 2 tenors, one that is plastic and one that is wooden, one that was cheap as chips and one that wasn't. The smallest of my recorders is my plastic Aulos Sopranino. And the biggest of my recorders is my F Bassett from Toeman. I don't play this regularly, but I do always enjoy playing it when I do. It sounds a bit like a musical drain pipe. I'd love to give you sound samples of some of these, but I'm not going to play any of the wind instruments because it just sends me off into a massive coughing fit, basically. That's it, that's all of the recorders. I think that's quite a placid collection for a recorder player, isn't it? Anyway, while we're doing recorders, let's carry on with other wind instruments. Tin whistles. I only actually have 2 tin whistles and they're both high D. Where's the sense in that? This one is your stereotypical tin whistle. It's metal, they cost about £8. It's by oak and it has that brilliant metallic tin whistle sound. This one is plastic, it's by Tony Dixon and it is tunable so you can push the slide in and out. For me, this one doesn't have that brilliant bright tin whistle sound. It kind of sits somewhere between a plastic recorder and a tin whistle. but it has a sound of its own and I like it. I have a handful of bamboo flutes of all descriptions that live up here on this shelf, along with my carbon monoxide alarm and set of Victorian postal scales. I'm not going to say too much about this handful of bamboo flutes because they are getting their own video. I am though very proud of this little stand I managed to make for them. Finally put my A-level in woodwork to good use. And here's a couple more wooden flutes that are going to belong to the same video as those ones, so I'm not going to tell you anything about them. I'm just having visions of all of these recorders falling over, so I'm going to make a pile. These two are the Smelly wooden flutes from my last video, and if you watched that last video, you will know why I call them the Smelly flutes. Very much not a smelly flute is my Western concert. Though I am doing a bit of an experiment with this one. I don't know if you can tell from the camera, but this flute used to be bright and shiny and silver. Now I leave it out of its case so that I can just pick it up and grab it to play it whenever I fancy if I've got a spare couple of minutes. Now of course metal oxidises when it's left out in the air. Usually people would polish their flutes to keep them looking nice and silver, and I was doing that too. But I noticed the colour it is going is this really quite attractive coppery sort of colour. Well, it's quite attractive to me anyway. It still plays perfectly fine. So I'm just going to leave it out, let it carry on oxidising and see what cool colour it might turn in the future. I'm probably causing flautists everywhere to have a bit of a hot sweat over the fact I'm letting it tarnish. Sorry. A fife. Here's an oldie from one of my earlier videos, my Shalamo. I didn't know anything about Shalamos, but I saw this one pop up on eBay and I thought I just had to give it a try. This is one of those instruments that I enjoyed learning the history of and reading about it more than I enjoyed playing it. I think if nothing, this Shalamo has taught me that reed instruments probably aren't my favourite thing to play. They're just a lot of faff. We're getting towards the end of the wind instruments now, but I think I had better include the whistle that I made in a Can I Make a Whistle video. Yes, I could make a whistle. The heady heights of a kazoo. And now for something that hasn't been on the channel before. This thing. I bought this for £4.99 from a toy shop, aiming to make a sort of jokey video with it because I thought it would be terrible. It actually sounds far better than I thought it would do. So I think even by now it's probably pretty clear that I have a lot of instruments in my house, and I don't, for the most part, have any of them packed away. I have them scattered around the house, and that just makes practice far easier. If you only have a couple of minutes, then it's easier to just grab an instrument that's there and ready to go, ready to be practiced, and you don't have to worry about getting it out of its case or its box or whatever. However, some instruments I have out just for display, not really for play. And this little ocarina is definitely in that category. It looks really nice and kind of arty-farty, but it actually plays terribly. Luckily, I have other ocarinas. This one doesn't play quite so terribly, though it is still not brilliant. It's difficult to get it to play in tune. It's a bit of an Amazon special, this one. Also very definitely an Amazon special is the strawberry ocarina. I love this piece of tat probably far more than I should. I gave it its own entire video and it is just fun, and for such a fun, dare I say cute little thing, it actually plays surprisingly well. At the polar opposite end of the ocarina scale, I have an ocarina that I don't think I have shown on YouTube, and I really should have done because it is beautiful and it's a walrus. I commissioned this ocarina probably about a year ago. It's handmade. I think I did start filming a video about it, but I just can't get the camera to pick up how beautiful this thing is. It just kind of looks like a muddy lump on film, but in person it's this beautiful sort of bronzed metallic effect walrus with the loveliest little face. The windway is in his tail. You blow into his tail, there's the little window underneath his tail. He just feels so lovely to play. I really want to play him for you, but I'm full of virus and I don't want to fill my ocarina full of virus, so one day I will definitely give him a video. Right, I think that's pretty much the end of all of the wind instruments, apart from a few hangers-on that we'll get to later. I'm really hoping I have managed to sort out some sort of counting device on the bottom of the screen somewhere, because I have got no idea already how many instruments are behind me. But what else is behind me? This instrument hanger, you might have noticed. Something usually lives up there. My beloved Tanglewood Soprano ukulele. Okay, so we've done one ukulele. I guess it probably makes sense to carry on with the ukuleles. This is not my ukulele. It belongs to my husband, and he played in the school ukulele orchestra type thing, and this was his ukulele. Also not my ukulele is this ukulele. This is my husband's too. This ukulele is one of the most talked about instruments on my channel. Even though it's not mine, I hardly ever play it, and I've hardly ever used it in a video. It's just one of those things that lurks in the background, and I always have comments about it. It's a ukulele that looks like a Fender Stratocaster guitar, and people love the novelty factor. It's kind of not in tune. I do play it, so I am adding it to my collection of instruments in the house that I have access to, whether they are actually mine or not. Here's another uke that isn't mine, or I don't intend it to be mine anyway. I was walking past a sort of second-hand type shop thing in town one day, and I saw this ukulele languishing in the window in amongst all the lonely left-behind household goods. And because I'm a weirdo, I felt sorry for it and I went in and bought it. It's a soprano ukulele. I already have a beloved soprano ukulele that I play all the time, so I don't really know why I bought it. I just wanted to rescue it, I suppose. It's a little Makala ukulele, so it's a very, very decent beginner's ukulele. I gave it a paint job. I like doing sign writing and art and stuff, so I've used some real gold leaf to put this sort of vintage effect, makers of fine instruments design onto it. I gave the headstock a little bit of a spruce up as well, and as you can see I've just put some new strings on it and I haven't got round to chopping the ends off yet. I'm going to be selling this ukulele. I enjoyed painting it and I like the idea of liberating it from the shop. That sounds like I stole it. I didn't steal it, I bought it from the shop. I like the idea of rescuing it and finding it a nice new home, so if I've got this listed for sale at the time of making this video, I'll pop the link in the description below if you're interested. It does play quite nicely. Right, let's carry on with stringed instruments, shall we? If I'm going to do this sort of camera angle, I really should get a selfie stick, shouldn't I? But anyway, you're coming on a little tour of my house with me now. We're off up the stairs because I'm going to fetch the instrument that I have owned the longest. This is an acoustic stag guitar, and I have had this guitar since I was a child. At primary school, we didn't have music lessons. The closest thing we came to doing anything musical was singing hymns every Friday in assembly. No music lessons, no opportunity for the kids to actually try learning an instrument or banging tambourines together or anything like that, which I think is quite unusual. I went to an incredibly small primary school. There were 9 people in my year group, so we just didn't have a lot of money for extracurricular stuff. Not that music should be extracurricular. In fact, thinking back on it, it makes me really angry that there wasn't any music education in my primary school until a new teacher joined. She could play a bit of guitar, and I think she was horrified that there was no musical happenings in school, so she said she would start running a guitar group. I was incredibly excited by this and ran out with my parents, of course, I was probably about 7, and bought a guitar. And I got this one. I chose it because it was blue, and as a child I absolutely hated pink and wanted everything to be blue. So you might be wondering, how can I start out so many of my videos saying that this channel exists because I'm trying to chart my own progress learning music from scratch with no prior knowledge, when all these years I've had a secret guitar? Well, the music lessons at primary school from the teacher really didn't consist of much. She taught us 3 chords, D, A7, E minor. E minor was definitely my teacher's favourite chord, and she taught us an entire song that was entirely in E minor with one strumming pattern. I shall play you a small excerpt. Joshua fought the battle of Jericho, Jericho, Jericho. Looking back, I think the teacher was probably only a lesson or two ahead of us kids, but at least she tried. Sadly, she left very soon, she didn't stay long at the school, and so my days of a guitar player were over. But I have optimistically brought this guitar with me wherever I've been. It has followed me from house to house and basically stood in the corner of several rooms gathering dust. Incidentally, I bought this strap because I am a huge Red Hot Chili Peppers fan, and it has chili peppers on it. So we have established Jimi Hendrix I am not, and nor am I ever going to be. But do I just own that guitar? No, of course not. I have other guitars. Hanging on the wall behind the sofa is this guitar. It's almost in tune. There seems like an incredibly safe place to balance it, doesn't it? There is also this one lurking behind my reading lamp. This is an Ibanez guitar. It's about one of the cheapest electric guitars you can find, but I really like it. It's a chunky, weighty thing. That's all of the regular guitars, but in my living room there lurks one final guitar. Of an evening, when I might appear to be sitting on the sofa staring at the TV, a lot of the time I am actually gazing in sheer admiration at my Cigar Box Guitar, which lives propped up next to the telly. This little guitar was handmade by a chap called Mr. Stomp. If you Google him, I'm sure he'll come up. I have made one video using this guitar on YouTube, and it is one of my most popular YouTube videos. There is obviously a very dedicated and very large Cigar Box Guitar community out there, which is brilliant. There will be other videos from me on this guitar. I had to admit that when I listen to Cigar Box Guitar, I enjoy hearing it the most when it has crazy amounts of distortion and fuzz and overdrive applied to it through pedals. I don't own any pedals, so the guitar is sitting waiting for me to grow my collection of pedals, and then I can make it sound like I really want it to sound. It just sounds too polite and clean at the moment. You also can't really hear it until you plug it into an amp. That might be the end of the guitars, but it is not the end of my collection of stringed instruments. Here is my spot on the sofa. Underneath my spot on the sofa, I keep my psaltery. Psalteries are hugely underrated instruments, in my humble opinion. I have shown this on YouTube a couple of times. I haven't gone into an explanation about it ever, but I have done a couple of playing videos. Maybe I can put one in up here somewhere. I think psalteries should have much more of a place in musical education. It is one of those instruments that might not look like much, but it is just somehow imbibed with some sort of magic, and everything just sounds incredible on it. One of the reasons I say that it should have more of a place in music education is because you can get these really cool sheet music thingamajigs for it. This is an idea of sheer genius. All you do is slide it underneath the wires and then just follow the little dot to dots. An easier way of getting into music I can't think of. I think children should just be given these in every school, in every country in the world. Well, that's the stringed things done, so how about the things with keys? This Yamaha vintage keyboard was famous from my charity shop musical treasure hunt video. Yeah, there it is. And completing the lineup of keyboards is this Korg Micro, Korg Micro, oh, that's the name, Micro Korg S in white with these lovely maple sides. This isn't mine, it belongs to my dad. I actually bought it for him as a present a couple of years ago and very swiftly borrowed it back off him, and I do need to give it back soon. The best thing about this one is that it comes with a vocoder. You can do all sorts of crazy things with your voice, but I don't have it switched on at the moment, so it's not doing anything. Bongos! I forgot, while I was doing the wind section, the didgeridoo! Every home should have one. I've had this since I was a small child. My dad bought it for me. At the same time, he also bought himself a much bigger one that is at his house. Surprisingly, I haven't borrowed it and added it to my collection. Also, very happily, it now matches the colour of my current living room, which is just lovely, isn't it? Octodrum. I bought this summer and I've already used it in a couple of recordings. It comes with this wooden mallet, which sounds dreadful, so I tend to use this rubber mallet, which sounds much better. But also, I don't know if I've patented this, but basically I can turn my Octodrum into a drum machine, just with a rubber bouncy ball. You put it in there, and then you just get a sort of random pattern, which makes me far too happy. Steel tongue drum. This is definitely seen as the reserve of yoga enthusiasts, but I reckon this is one of those instruments that is, again, instilled with some sort of magic. You can do no wrong playing this thing. Beautiful! Here's another instrument instilled with some sort of magic, and again I bought this one this summer. It's a singing bowl. I'm having to sort of stand and talk to you like this now because my seat is filled with instruments. Just by owning the item, it sent me off down a whole path of discovery, reading about tons of different cultures, how these have been used over the years, how they are still relevant today, and they just make a really cool noise. It actually takes quite a bit of practice to be able to do that without getting a ton of really aggravating buzzy noise, which you heard me do a couple of times there. I have got so many ideas of what I want to do with the sound of this bowl in recordings. I really hope I get round to it at some point. You will almost certainly be very glad to know that we are coming to the end of the instruments, just about. There's a few more to go. Next up, so that I've got somewhere to sit, is my Cajon. I don't get to play it as much as I thought I would because, well, I think my neighbours probably love this Cajon so much that they just can't resist joining in drumming on the walls when I practice it. That must be it. Right, now of course an amplifier isn't strictly an instrument, but I'm going to add it to the pile anyway because it's such an integral part of being able to play some of these instruments. It's a Fender something or other. We're nearly there. You're glad. I'm glad. We'll move on to what I'm going to call the oddity section of the video. First of which being this bird. Now this is described as a bird ocarina on the packaging. My husband got it me for a Christmas present. I don't know, does it count as an ocarina? I call it more of a whistle. The idea is you fill its little head full of water and then you blow through its tail and it makes a sort of warbly bird sound. And it really does. It sounds pretty fantastic when you get the water level right. Have a look down here, you can see my little assortment of odds and ends. I am counting this whistle as a musical instrument. In the same vein, we have a ceramic or clay haggis-shaped whistle because why not? That's from my charity shop musical treasure hunt video. The tiny recorder from the tiny recorder fridge magnet giveaway. 1.5 pairs of castanets that I found in a junk shop. They were £1. I couldn't say no. One day I just know that I will want a castanet type noise. Good heavens, I nearly forgot the harmonica. I thought I was done. I can't play the harmonica, but I own one. It's a Hohner Special 20. And with that tambourine and shaky egg, I think we're there. This is the fam. I've just realised I'm not done. Okay, if we're going to do a thing, we're going to do it properly. Would you like to accompany me to my loft? Much like the picture of Dorian Gray, we have an instrument that we keep in the loft. Oh wait, I need to put some shoes on. I am fully expecting these gardening clogs to hit the runways of London and Paris any season now. I might be gone for some time. Well, that was all much more difficult than I thought it would be. I had to do some serious digging to find this banjo. This banjo is something that has been in our house probably for about 10 years now. I bought it for my husband, so I thought the banjo would be a new enterprise for him. But this was a very, very stunningly cheap example off Amazon. And it is frankly terrible. And we kind of find it so aggravatingly low quality that we make it live in the loft. Maybe I should give it one more go. What do you think? Maybe I should at least keep it down from the loft. It's never going to be any good up there catching spiders, is it? Look at it all. Look at it all. This video may possibly never end, and the banjo wasn't the last thing after all. I have suddenly remembered my rain stick. They say that if you play this, it summons rain. It is currently bright sunshine outside, so I'll keep you posted. So how many instruments are there here? I don't know. I gave up trying to count quite a long time ago. You know, because it's in a little counter at the bottom of the video, if I've been so technologically adept as to be able to put one in. I'm guessing it's quite a lot. Okay, this is definitely quite a lot of instruments for someone who's only been practicing music for 2 years. I did not in any way intend this video to be some sort of weird show-off. Look at all the instruments I own. It was just a bit of fun for me to group them all together. I've never seen my collection all together like this. Having all of these things is just a never-ending source of inspiration and ideas for me, and with that, I am going to very happily carry on expanding my collection of instruments for as long as I have room in my house. That's not going to be very much longer, is it? So what do you reckon to my collection? Have you got one that can rival mine? I bet plenty of you have. I bet really I'm still in the infancy of musical instrument collection. If you have enjoyed the video, please do remember to give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button. Hopefully I'm going to be back on top of video making and everything. Hopefully I can get back to some music practice, and so hopefully next week I might even be back with an instrument to actually play you, rather than just doing some sort of strange school-style show and tell. If you're still with me by this point in the video, well done you, because I reckon it must have been a pretty long one. But thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I will see you again next week. Bye! I've had a wild old time assembling the family, getting them all together. Just realised I've got to put them all away again now.